the channel and welcome back. If you're a returning viewer, it's great to have you here with me. Today I have a very exciting video for you guys because yes, it is now the start of the spooky season, at least for me personally. Everyone has their own little benchmark for what signifies the start of the spooky season for them. For me personally, that is when Halloween Horror Nights starts. Whichever date is opening night for them, that is the date that I set up all of my Halloween stuff in my room. I have been following this pattern ever since 2020, and each and every year they move that date up significantly. And this year, the opening night is August 30th, so here we are. So to signify the start of spooky season, I am once again bringing you guys along with me as I decorate my Lemax Spooky Town. This was a video that I really enjoyed making last year, so I'm excited to bring you guys along for the ride this year. And of course, while you're decorating your spooky town, you have to have a Halloween candle going. Usually for me, that would be Bath & Body Works pumpkin carving, but this year I decided to switch it up a little bit to Goose Creek's Trick or Treat, which is one of my all-time favorites. So before we get started with all the decorating here, let's go ahead and get into the pieces that I got for my spooky town this year. So every year I try to limit myself to one building, keyword being try, as it was really hard for me this year because I think that this year's lineup is one of their best, if not the best, since I've started collecting in 2020. There were so many cool pieces that caught my eye this year. The roller coaster one was super innovative. The Cursed Ruins were really cool. I had my eye on the Madness Manor for so long. Ultimately, I didn't end up going with that one, but I just loved the lighting package with it. And then finally, the one that I was planning on buying was the Amazing Pumpkin Patch. So my theme each year is kind of that hybrid pumpkin patch slash haunted house walkthrough. And the Amazing Pumpkin Patch was literally a combination of the two. And from watching the videos and seeing the promotional images, I was all bought in. I even placed an order for it at one point. However, when I showed up to my local Michael's to check out the Spooky Town display for the year, I found out that that piece is actually extremely loud. And that made me so bummed because I absolutely love that piece. But I do have a Christmas Lemax piece that is super loud. And every time I turn that one on, it annoys me. So I knew that I couldn't handle that loudness of the motor. So I did skip over that one. But there was one piece this year that I actually preferred over the Amazing Pumpkin Patch even before hearing the loud motor. And that was the Fright Night Cinema. So if you know me, you know I absolutely love horror movies. I'm repping the Green Room shirt today, and I have horror movie posters all over my room. So when all of the Michael's exclusives were revealed and there was this movie theater that was showing a horror movie marathon, I was immediately sold. And this thing does not disappoint. It is so gorgeous and well made. I absolutely adore this piece. It's like a gothic movie theater, kind of like a hybrid between a spooky castle and a movie theater, if I'm being honest. And the intricate little details on this is what really got me. It's got these really cool little fake movie posters on there. This one being It's a Wonderful Knife. They're kind of like movie parodies with a little horror twist. My favorite one over here is the Citizen Slain. And then of course on the front, it's got the big marquee sign with a little Lord of the Rings and John Carpenter's The Thing nod on there. The Thing is one of my favorite movies of all time, so I love the nod to that movie here. And then, of course, you've got Dracula and the Wolfman and even the Blob, like, eating someone. And then this really cool window with the ghosts back there. And I don't know if it shows up on camera, but it also is like a little interior scene where you can see the actual theater, and the movie screen on there is playing some random horror movie trailer. Just all of the little details on this piece, all the little gags, the nods to horror movies. It's just a 10 out of 10 to me. If you're a horror movie fan out there and you're into Lemax Spooky Town, this piece was absolutely made for you. The only downside that I can find in this piece, if I have to be a little bit critical, is those ghosts in the background just being held up by little like translucent sticks. I feel like that could have been incorporated just a little bit better. but honestly, it doesn't ruin the piece for me or anything. I still absolutely love this thing, and the lighting on it is so amazing as well. There's no animation or soundtrack or anything. It's very subtle, but it doesn't need to be this big old flashy thing, and that's what I kind of love about it. I'm very interested to see how it's going to play with all of the pumpkin patch stuff that I have. In my head, this piece was going to fit into the pumpkin patch vibe by either being like a horror movie themed Halloween maze, or maybe just an actual movie theater in the pumpkin patch that plays a horror movie marathon. Unfortunately, I think this piece is actually sold out online now. It was an extremely popular piece this year. I had my eye on it at the beginning of the season when all of the Michael stuff was like 20% off, and I took the gamble of waiting until it went 30% off to get it. But funnily enough, it actually sold out before it even hit 30% off, which I was super bummed about, and that's actually when I placed an order for the Amazing Pumpkin Patch. But I actually lucked out, in the day that all of the Lemax Spookytown stuff went 30% off at Michael's, they did a restock of this piece. So I swiftly canceled my other order and picked this thing up as fast as I could, and I am so glad that I did. So if you missed out on this piece this year, it will be back next year at different retailers and probably for a cheaper price. But if it does go back in stock at Michael's this year and you are kind of on the fence about it, I would highly recommend this thing. I think it's totally worth it, and it's probably one of my favorite Spookytown pieces of all time. So everything else I got are all accessories. So if you watched my video last year, you would know that I set everything up on a base of like creepy cloth and old cardboard boxes as my base. And while that does work, I kind of wanted to get some of the official Spookytown base pieces just to see how much the vibe would change. So I ended up getting one of these little mats with like the grass and moss on them, as well as the huge official bases. And I also picked up some of their maple trees for aesthetics, just to fill out the village a little bit more. And I also got these little candy corn pine trees. And then for the actual accessory pieces, I've always wanted one of the Spookytown water towers, so I finally picked one up. Just feels very classic Halloween to me. And then of course I had to pick up my favorite Halloween icon with the headless horseman accessory. I just really think that he'll add some life to the village. And finally, I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do with these, but with the premise, I had to get them. And that's these little jack-o'-lantern blow molds that actually light up. I just thought that these were really, really cute. So with all of that out of the way, I'm going to switch it over to voiceover, and we'll go ahead and get decorating.
So just like last year, I decided to start out with a creepy cloth base for my village. And then I added the Lemax mossy base over on top of that. And just a warning for anybody who wants to get this, it is so messy. As you can see on the creepy cloth, it gets everywhere. So here I am just making a general layout for where I kind of want my pieces to go. This isn't a final layout or anything, it's more so to figure out how much space I have and how the different pieces interact with each other. And once I'm happy with that, I go ahead and start adding elevation with those Lemax base pieces. And as you're going to see in this video, I do move around my pieces and those bases a ton. As you can see here, the Lemax base pieces are kind of oddly shaped. So it took a lot of reconfiguration to really get them exactly how I wanted them. They added an interesting little challenge for me this year, because as you're going to see in a second, those shapes don't really align with each other very well. Like this small base piece here, for example, I kind of wanted to have it sit in the middle of this larger piece and the smaller piece, but there was too many gaps and weird little edges that I was just not liking. So this little switch here was actually very big for the formation of the entire right side, and kind of formed a story for me here. I wanted there to be a valley in between these two larger base pieces for the Jack's pumpkin farm to sit at, and putting the Isle of Creepy Jacks there kind of formed this story of the water that flows from the Isle actually kind of flows down into Jack's pumpkin farm and blesses their pumpkins with these happy jack-o'-lantern faces, while the Mad Pumpkin Patch in the back does not get the benefit, and those pumpkins become a lot more evil and scary. So from there, the layout of the village was actually finalized. I ended up using those cardboard boxes last year covered in creepy cloth to fill in some gaps between bases, and then I'm just using Jack's pumpkin farm and some of those accent pieces to cover those up. Now here I'm adding those little pumpkin blow molds. And these, along with all of the other accent pieces, really just bring a nice liveliness to the village. Now, a couple of years ago, I saw this really cool hack that if you use the snow from the Christmas villages in your spooky villages, it kind of has this cool fog effect. And sorry if the camera is shaking here, Olive was very excited about the snow and she wanted to eat it, so she kept getting up on the desk. But I'm really loving how the fog effect turned out. I think it adds a really nice ambiance to the village. Now here I am wiring everything up, making sure everything is getting power, and finally turning all of the pieces on for the first time. I really love how my layout turned out this year. The base pieces and accessories that I picked up this year really brought everything together. Olive was very excited to check out the finished product, so we'll get into a sweeping view here. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have an amazing Halloween season.